Fantastic. Okay, excellent. Right, gentlemen, we have 40 minutes to solve one of the outstanding questions that the telecom industry has today, which is when will cloudops replace the current network operations center? In the research that we do and in what we talk about, it's clear that becoming a cloud native telco means not just changing the network, but changing the whole way in which the network is operated. So it makes sense that network operations is also going to change, but it also means that the way in which cloud native applications run on the network isn't the same as monitoring a network in a conventional way. So what we want to explore in the next 35 minutes or so is really that changing role of the NOC, Network Operations Center. In the cloud native telco, do we still need a NOC at all, I guess is the foundational question. Everyone has had a chance to see your biographies and things online, so I'm not going to explain who you are. It'll become clear as we go through things. So I'm going to turn in the first instance to Yuvraj from Vodafone. Yuvraj, I have a question just to open the discussion here. If I look back 5 years, your CTO, Scott Petty, was talking about moving to zero-touch NOCs, talking about back then there were some 1,500 people or so running Vodafone network operations, and Scott, it's a direct quote, so I'm not making stuff up. Scott said he expected that number would be down to kind of tens of people by around about where we are now. So let me start with a very clear question: is that where you are today? And what's your view of the NOC of the future? What is shaping the NOC of the future in a cloud native world?
Yes, thank you, Robert. So yes, we have made significant improvements, significant progress in automating our NOCs in the last few years, leveraging primarily AIOps. So we have collaborated with Google. We have now most of our data from the network in the GCP. We have standardized data products, for example, for alarms, for performances, for inventories, etc., etc. And leveraging GCP, leveraging the skills of GCP, we have now AI, ML, predictive classification models now available. And this has been done in collaboration between Vodafone engineers, Vodafone data scientists, and Google. And these models have helped us significantly to develop closed loop automations. We have also developed our own analytics engines, which we have put in GCP. And these closed loop automations have now given us significant leverage and cost reduction and making progress in line with what Scott had mentioned. And now, as you know, that so AIOps was sitting on the cloud. Now the network themselves are becoming cloud native. And this combination of AIOps and cloud native networks is something which will now take us forward in future and evolve these NOCs as the question you asked. So before I answer that part of the question, Robert, as to how the NOCs will look like in future, I mean, I would like to say a few points as a backdrop, right? Number one, if you see the cloud native is primarily adopted in the mobile core of the network today, right? It's also progressing in the RAN space with Open RAN and Virtual RAN, but it's slightly behind mobile core. If you look at the transport world, it is primarily going in the SDN TDO domain. And in the fixed data, again, the cloud native has not picked up significantly, though the progress is being made. So the point I'm making is that if you look at the landscape of the network, it's quite hybrid, right? It's quite hybrid. All parts of the network are eventually targeting to get to the intent-based automation, but the journey is slightly different. The second point to put in the backdrop is we still have legacy regulatory oversights to meet. So with that as a backdrop, right, I think in the long run, there is no debate that cloudops will redefine the way the telco network operations centers will evolve. But it will be a journey, right? The NOCs will not vanish overnight. So in the very near term, like from now till next couple of years, to maintain this hybrid network for regulatory oversights, for security compliances, you will still need a significant knock. The progress that will be made in this time will largely be still progressing on the AI ops. The cloud native has already started bringing its capability. We already see the observability of the networks improving, which feeds into the AI ops and takes it forward. We see the cloud native.
Yeah, Rob.
If I can hear you, because well, Yuvraj source is audio wide. Alexis, I know, I mean, at Orange, you've done a lot of work already to centralize network operations across your European opcos. I think it's worth reminding people some of the numbers there. I think you're serving something like 300 million subscribers across, is it 26 countries?
26, yeah.
26, okay. Great. So you've already, you're part way along the journey towards a very much more consolidated NOC. What's your view, and in terms of some of the points that Yuvraj was mentioning there around gradual transition? How does that play with your view of cloudification and the NOC of the future?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. So today we are moving from traditional NOC to what we call, or what we can call, dark NOC, smart NOC, intelligent NOC, with what we also call brand network operations by leveraging AI capabilities in operations. So you were mentioning about centralized NOC in Romania and Poland, which is working very well. But today we see that with AI capabilities and also automation, and thanks to automation, we can move a line further and also optimize and also mutualize. So moving from centralized approach to optimization and mutualization to leverage and better serve our customer. So this is in line with our strategic plan, which is to become a cloud telco operator, not just a telco operator, but cloud telco operator means that deploying most of our assets based on 5G, of course, and maybe 6G in a few years in the cloud, both on-premise, internal cloud environment to fulfill the regulation, local regulation in the countries, and also relying on public cloud service providers by building strong partnership with what we call hyperscaler. So definitely the most challenge for moving from traditional NOC to cloudops is our capabilities to align our processes and also our tools at the group level to benefit the capability from the cloud environment.
Alexis, if I could just push you a little bit on one aspect of that, just from a day-to-day point of view, what are people not doing in the NOC of the future that they're doing today? Can you give me one or two examples of things that activities and tasks that just are not necessary at all, that are not part of that strategic vision?
Yeah, today, what people are not doing and they will do in the NOC of the future based on cloudops is to having all our assets deployed on cloud. Today, we still have a manual task, maybe sometimes in some network domains, a toil task to fix. Automation is not everywhere. And also, we are moving from what we call project-oriented culture to product-oriented culture, means that several small teams taking care of what we call a platform. We have an internal platform, OTC, Orange Telco Cloud. We are also setting up a strategy around telco as a platform, means that we have small teams, you build it, you run it, or you test it, you validate it, so that in the NOC, you are capable to handle all the things from the bottom line to the northbound for the API exposure and so on.
Okay, okay, interesting, interesting. Ignacio, I want to just segue from that because the kind of world that Alexis is talking about there seems to be more comparable to what is happening in large enterprises, financial institutions, insurance companies, banks, and so on. And obviously, as Red Hat, I guess you've got a perspective, you've got if you like, a foot in both camps, telco and vertical industry. When you think about kind of cloud ops and you hear that language being used, how much is it similar in telecom and how much is it different to what exists in other industries?
I guess we can define cloud ops in the same way, right? It's a blend of IT operations, network operations over a cloud native environment and applying the DevOps principle. So I think doesn't matter in which industry we are doing, we are achieving the same, right? The cloud teams at the end of the day, they have the one goal, which is this continuous operation, as we have heard. I don't think there's a big difference in terms of how cloud ops is established in different industries. They are doing exactly more or less the same in terms of orchestrating, operationalizing, and govern the whole infrastructure and applications. I think the biggest difference is coming in the telco when we talk about the network functions workloads. Other sectors, they have their own applications. These applications are classified as an IT applications, despite the fact that they are running incredible and very sophisticated services and businesses, right? So they shouldn't be a big difference. But the big difference is coming from these cloud native network functions, which, as of today at least, they are not 100% cloud native.
Yeah.
And it cannot be considered like that, because if you ask to the majority of the telco vendors, they will tell you that if you want to deploy their CNFs on a horizontal cloud native platform, probably they cannot guarantee the performance as SLA without going through a very thorough and extensive testing validation that could be done in the telco labs premises or elsewhere. And for me, this is the big difference. Of course, there are other aspects to have in mind, like processes. Telcos, maybe they need to change processes, the culture. They need to have, in terms of the know-how, there are room for improvement there. And they probably can slow down the adoption of a cloud-native journey. But for me, the biggest difference is where the telco industry should be laser-focused, which is to make sure that these CNFs are fully cloud-native.
Okay, so there's two parts to that. There is a bit of learning, of expertise, of crossover. If you're a telco in a cloud ops with a cloud ops objective, perhaps you can learn from what is happening in big financial institutions or other areas. But as you say, there's a part that's quite distinct. Joel, you're and don't take this the wrong way, I think you're at the coal face in your job in DevOps. You are seeing it and living it and breathing it every day. In a telco context, what do you see as being the prerequisites for adopting cloud ops? And this is not really about technology, but what do you see as the essential enablers for moving to a more cloud ops day-to-day operation?
Yeah, I think what Ignacio said is pretty much nailing it on the point. I think as telco, we need to align to the other kinds of workloads there are, because only then can we leverage the synergies between telco, banking, other industries, right? And then align ops and really gain something out of it and approach telco just as any other app. In order to achieve this, I think we need to really truly adopt cloud native, adopt the declarative approach of things. That means as telco industry, where we're used to having hard standards for pretty much everything, right? That we need to get used to the de facto standards or good practices that we see in cloud native. So that's a bit of a challenge because, I mean, traditionally we like to have these hard standards where everything is spec'd out. That's definitely something we need to adapt as an industry. Then I think we need to decouple infrastructure from applications. So that's applicable to telco as well, so that we are more flexible and that telcos can actually focus on what they're best in, providing telco applications. And I think as an industry as a whole, we're we're used to selling and thinking in physical boxes. So that's where we're coming from. And we basically need to start thinking outside the box and let go of the idea that our telco workloads are special. Because 90% of the telco workloads are your average IT app, which is an API and a bunch of state in the backend and so on. Now, I mean, what do we need to achieve that? Maybe, I mean, we need certain skills as companies and as employees, as DevOps engineers, as managers. So, I mean, on the hard skills side, it's kind of obvious. We need to ramp up Kubernetes cloud native knowledge. We need to ramp up software engineering knowledge if we're really to automate as much as possible, or at least the most impactful areas. We need software engineering skills, and that's something we need in addition to the telco specific know-how we have already today. On the soft skill side, I really think the SRE mindset is going to be helpful, even if not everything is applicable to telco. But I think the idea of having these SRE principles in mind and working towards achieving this kind of like utopia maybe will help us on moving faster into the direction of really true cloud ops. And then one important thing is, I think we should really learn from the cloud native community, which really embraces collaboration instead of silos. So we should collaborate with the cloud native, with the community, with the open source community, and we should aim for building up interfaces instead of end-to-end solutions, right? Instead of having everything in one box, in one package, we should try to clearly define interfaces between every point that needs an interaction. And I think that's really a mindset change rather than a technical or a hard change needed.
What's the trade-off in that process? I see you nodding there, Ignacio. Look, telecom networks work the way they work because they work incredibly well. It's not like telecom is full of badly working networks. It's full of very sophisticated, high functioning networks, and so I think the conversation with telcos often hits a bit of a block when telcos get told you need to kind of do it this way. Well, why bother? It works very well already. But tell me, between you and maybe Ignacio, your view on this, what's the trade-off? I understand the kind of new world, but what is it that I'm giving up in order to gain the things that you're talking about here?
Well, I think that the trade-off at the end of the day, and I'm going back to the community, I think that's one aspect that we have to bear in mind. There's nothing super specific of telco compared with other industries or other technologies that they can apply there. So what I really encourage is many of the telcos are really doing is just to be involved in this community, in these upstream projects, influence them rather than creating silos just for the telco, just to make sure that the communities really understand the needs and requirements coming from telco in order to be adopted, because this is how it works. And at the same time, the trade-off is what else they can get from these, let's say, interaction with other industries and other people that at the end of the day they are doing more or less the same, which is providing services.
I think one fact is that the industry already bought into cloud native, so it's a given that we use cloud native. The problem we're in right now is that we didn't go all the way through. It's not done yet. So we have the disadvantages of the old world and the new world, and we didn't gain a lot until now. We will only gain a lot if we really go all the way and finish this journey.
And if I may, Robert, very quick.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest issues that we have with the telco is that we started this telco journey with the 5G core, which is precisely the most complex and bigger beast that we have there. And we were forced in a certain way. So telco, they were forced through EPP, were saying that you have to go through this approach. So probably the way that they were invited or forced to go through that was not the most optimal. That's something that I want to say.
Okay. Well, it's sometimes it doesn't matter how you get there, but you get there in the end. This may be one of those. You did talk about benefits, and it's a question I want to ask Yuvraj and then Alexis. Any change has to have some significant benefit, either operationally or for customers. In terms of your journeys, you're both kind of well progressed along this journey towards more cloud ops and cloud native. Can you point out some specific benefits that another operator might recognize that reflect the reason for moving to a more cloud ops and cloud native approach? What's the standout benefit either for operationally performance or on customers? Yuvraj, maybe you would have a go at that first, and Alexis
Yes,
have a think about that.
I hope you can hear me well.
We have you now, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'll look at it two ways, right? So just to complete the point which I was making, I couldn't complete because of the poor quality, is that for NOCs to progress, it will be a symbiotic relationship between AI ops and cloud ops. They will go hand in hand, one over the other, to achieve the final goal of a people-less NOC, where the people in the NOC are focused on optimizing processes and digital journeys rather than monitoring the networks, right? So that was the important point, and the journey, of course, will be supported by agentic AI, etc. Now, the first point is AI ops itself sits in the cloud native environment, and that has given us huge benefits already. It is significantly contributing to the closed loop automations, the predictive journeys, etc. The cloud native adoption of the network, I think the panelists have made some very excellent points already. And the telco has a different way of doing it. The adoption of cloud native, if I talk about the potential which we see on the ground, which we will benefits, which we have already started seeing, is auto scaling and auto healing, right? If you need additional capacity, how quickly you can scale up the additional pods, etc. That benefit we are already seeing. In-service software upgrades, that benefit is already seen today in the network. Cost efficiency on how the density of the compute is handling the application is also seen. But there are some potentials which have not yet been fully exploited, and our panelists have already talked about it. I think in operations, what is more getting us going is looking at those potentials and hoping that they will come sooner rather than later. The applications, the CNFs, are still not completely cloud native. Other panelists have said that has still not happened. The durations of the ISSUs have to reduce significantly for it to be effective. The quality of the software, if you're trusting on in-service software upgrades, you have to have high faith in the quality of the software. We have started rightly or wrongly with the 5G standalone core, and anything going wrong there has a huge impact, right? So telcos are very cautious about doing ISSUs with the quality of software upgrades, the experience they have had. CI/CD pipelines we are trying to implement, but there are still manual interventions, right? We're still not trusting. We're still looking at the manual reports. We're still looking at the tickets, etc. So there is still a manual operation going on. So some benefits we have recognized through AI ops, through some functionalities of ISSU and auto scaling, but a lot more needs to be done, and we're looking forward to that.
Okay, interesting. Alexis, perhaps you'd have a
just quickly to complement what Yuvraj was adding. So what we see at Orange is the scalability we can expect from cloud ops and cloud native environment. Without a cloud environment, you cannot scale, and scaling today is one of the aspects we are considering to better serve our customers. Yuvraj was talking about GitOps, containerization, and this is the engine of the deployment of containerized net function, and CloudOps is the engine for that, cloud native, of course. And GitOps, more than just an environment, is what we consider and call a single source of truth. That is an accelerator for CI/CD pipeline, some processes like change, release, and also network configuration reloading, not backup or restore. It's reloading a new configuration automatically when there is an issue after a change or something else. And quality of service also is one of the benefits we can expect from cloud, because we are putting different layers in the cloud platform, so that we can expect to having a great quality or a better control of the quality of service at each layer. And finally, the API exposure on the northbound to serve B2B customer or B2B2C customers. And one thing, and then I leave the floor, is also OpEx optimization regarding our consumption from the cloud and infrastructure through a new role, which we are implementing at Orange, what we call FinOps, financial and operations, to better control our investment and also the operational expense of what we are using.
Interesting. Alexis, it seems to me what you're describing there gives me a flavor of just how different the dashboard, the NOC dashboard is. Because, and Yuvraj as well, now I want the dashboard to say a few different things. I want the dashboard to be one of the indicators. I want it to be up in the red, okay, in terms of network utilization, resource utilization. In telco, I like it to be midway, halfway. I like to know I got lots of headroom, but that's different in a cloud ops world.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
And I want to know that I've done 100 software updates in the past week. Not zero.
Not zero.
There's a great inversion here. I think this is a very interesting part of the mindset change and shift. While I have you, Alexis, and maybe then to Joel, clearly you've indicated there are things that we're still learning about, and I wanted to ask everyone here, what are the things that, in the context of cloud ops and NOC of the future, what are the things you want from the supplier community in general? What are the things you're totally self-sufficient on, and where do you still need help from your peers in the industry? What are the key enablers for your own journey going forward? Alexis, maybe you'd start with that.
Yeah,
we'll go on.
quickly. And first of all, thank you, Rob. This is a great question. And at Orange, what we are expecting from our suppliers, vendors, is very simple: is to provide their package as a platform so that we can deploy it internally. And also, this platform must include all the mandatory unitary tests, so that we will not waste time checking everything one by one, piece by piece. And it's a kind of moving from traditional way of working to full DevSecOps culture. And then internally, we'll rely on our experts to run the validation, end-to-end integration, and taking into account all the security aspects as well. And finally, from the industry peers, what we are expecting from them is also to support us, because Orange is one of the big telco who is pushing to horizontal deployment. This is not very easy to do. We are talking about Linux Foundation, Cloud Native Foundation, and so on. And the openness of the solution, considering the portability, interoperability, and security aspect, is very key for us. And if our industry peers can support us on that, this is a great move to what we call horizontal deployment and opening the easiest way to operate the future of network cloudify functions.
Okay. Joel, from your standpoint, what do you still need that you don't have already today?
So I see four different areas that we could see some improvement. First, we've talked about it a lot, but really adopt through cloud native principles, like how to deploy, have an end-to-end declarative flow, don't break that flow, these kinds of concepts. The second one is please support vanilla cloud native tooling, such as Flux, Cert Manager, MetalLB, the tools that are around in the community. Please do not fork these tools and rebundle them. Please contribute upstream and share your share whatever is not part of your core business, right? Third is decouple the application layer, like the CNF layer, from your infrastructure, so that you can, as a vendor, you can focus on what you're best at. That's mainly the telco sphere, right? I think that would help us a lot. And last but not least, yeah, be in touch with your telcos. Yeah, communicate on what your plan is, and please keep a close feedback loop. From Swisscom, we initiated the Cloud Native Telco Forum, which is basically a forum to discuss these kinds of topics, which is open to any vendor or telco. Just approach us if you're interested. And I think this open channel could help us really having a lot of improvement in these areas in the future.
Yuvraj, the same question to you. What do you still need on your journey from the different constituent parties in the telco community?
Yes, I think some of the things are already said. Cloud native, exploit the cloud native completely. I think the vendors are still not doing it. That's very clear. And I can give you some practical examples of where we have struggled with the vendors. I think it is sometimes very tricky to make capacity statements on cloud native platforms for the vendors. It's easier in the past. These days, sometimes with all the capabilities of cloud native, we have had those struggles. So I think that needs to be improved. I already talked about the quality of the softwares. I think that needs to improve. The other experience we have had is that there is, in this cloud native architecture for telcos, there is still a connectivity layer of a LAN inside, and our experience is that something that has to be that was not as engineered as well as it could have been. So there are areas which we are carrying from our traditional networks in this cloud native networks, but are very important. It's just not about application and the cloud infra. So all that needs to be taken care of by the vendors. For us in operators, I think mindset, culture, skills is something we really have to seriously look at. We're still carrying a lot of baggage of the past. A lot of manual checks and interventions we do is because that's the way we have done it always. So I think moving on in that culture is extremely important for us. And with our peers, I think we have to all collaborate to make sure that we influence the vendors, the standard bodies, to be able to deliver sustainable cloud native products in future.
Okay. Ignacio, I've mentioned before, obviously Red Hat has seen something comparable happen in other industries, but give us an insight as to how some of the requests that we've heard around the table today influence how you collaborate as a supplier partner into your telco customers.
Well, I think there are two aspects here. The first one is this collaboration within the industry, but also, as we mentioned before, also about the communities. I think these are two aspects that we have to bear in mind. But if we talk about the industry collaboration on cloud native or cloudops, for us, it's a fundamental aspect and it's part of our strategy for telecommunications, right? And that's the reason why we are doing a significant joint effort with the different partners, NEPs or ISVs, in order to make sure that we can provide this solution and we can operate these complex networks in a more efficient or consistent way. And for that, at the end of the day, what we are doing is we are trying to create or pre-integrate or integrate tested and certified solutions on in this case on our Red Hat platforms, in order to give telcos the freedom of choice and just to make sure that they can have this vendor agnostic approach in order to deploy different solutions from different vendors with this flexibility and the availability of leveraging these in these technologies and the investment that they are doing. And at the end of the day, for the telco, we believe that they're going to have some benefits in terms of having a uniform and consistent operations, in terms of enhance the automation and operational efficiency, simplify integration and the faster time to market that we mentioned sometimes. And also it's about reducing complexity and increased resiliency. I think if we can work together from the industry point of view in order to simplify the life to the telcos, this could be a massive improvement in order to embrace cloud native and cloud ops.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in an interesting position there, given what Joel was saying about the need to kind of validate and assure cloud native principles really being embraced from any supplier of software. So you're playing almost a sort of umpire referee role, a de facto, to Joel's point, a de facto standardization of, look, if it works on our platform, then you got a level of confidence that it fulfills the needs of telco.
Yeah, that's right, and we are trying to be there. It's about standardization, but in most of the cases, it's about pure collaboration.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes left, and I'm conscious that in the title that Annie set us for this session was quite explicit, and I'm gonna press each of you on this question. When will cloudops become the new business as usual? When does it become the thing that we're already doing and not the thing that we're working towards? Ignacio, since I just was talking with you, let's work this in reverse.
I think we need a crystal ball right now, because as Yuvraj was mentioned, we're still having plenty of legacy networks there. So that unfortunately or fortunately, they need to keep the lights on for a while. So I think we're going to have to start thinking about the two different aspects or two different footprints. One is just focus on this cloud native, and it's going to take 3-4 years until we reach there. In two areas. First, the technology is going to be ready to be cloud native. We talk about the CNS, we talk about the infrastructure, but most importantly also people are going to be ready to work on the cloud native and in the cloud ops in terms of having these new soft skills, having the know-how, and implementing these new processes to work on this new, let's say, way of working. That's why I said that it's not going to be for tomorrow. It's going to take between 4 or 5 years for these, let's say, these network that we are talking about. For legacy, I'm afraid, nothing much that we can do.
Okay, Yuvraj.
So I would say cloud native ops or cloud ops, at least 5 years. That's my prediction.
Okay.
But there are other aspects to it, right? Because and I'm again going back to AI. We will still make significant improvement in the workings of the NOC, leveraging AI ops.
Yeah. Okay.
Agentic AI will come in and it will really change the game. Cloud ops, I'm still not clear how it will be adopted in every part of the network. So I don't know, even in 5 years, all the network will be cloud native. What I can predict is in 5 years, every part of the network will somehow find a way to become intent-oriented, intent-driven declaration in some shape and form. But yes, 5 years where I can see the NOC people not monitoring the network, but doing something else.
Okay, interesting. In the last minute, Joel and then Alexis, do you have a prediction? Is too strong a word, but when will cloud ops be business as usual? Joel.
Yeah, Joe. I let Joe, and then I will jump after.
All right. So for me, I would make it conditional. I'm not good at predicting stuff in an absolute way. So I would say as soon as we're comfortable to run our networks on vanilla Kubernetes and vanilla cloud native tooling.
Yeah. In the same way, I will just say as soon as network slicing became the new standard of delivering network connectivity for our customer, we need to move to cloud apps because it's the demand rather than techno push. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Excellent. Very insightful perspectives. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you. That was really good. We hope to see you all sooner rather than later. A great big thank you, Robert, Yuvraj, Alexis, Ignacio, and Joel.